What's going on, guys? Good morning. My name is Antonio Gurule. This is the Live Loud Life podcast. We have not done an episode for quite some time now. I recorded a few before my fourth son was being born. And before, which is kind of what I want to talk about today, but I want to share a really cool experience. And to tell you what I'm going to talk about, I'm just going to get it out right away, is I did a psilocybin journey or session with a friend of ours who is a therapist, a healer in this facility. So it was guided. And I wanted to just share my experience and, a little bit about why I did it and what the future kind of holds for that. And that was a part of, part of the interest in it is there was just so much in my life that I just felt stuck. Stuck is the best way to describe it. I feel like I've been living in the past, and my anxiousness and frustration about trying to be a father and providing for my family and savings and house. And it's not just about the material things. It's just about, about their safety and parenting. I apologize. I got this weird hiccup about parenting and about, do we save for them for their college? Do we save for them to help them with this? Because we were fortunate enough to have my parents do that and a lot of different things. And in the past, this Live Loud Life podcast was a medium and direction of sharing information that could help you through health, through fitness. And we talked about this wellness wheel model multiple times and doing these audits and these check-ins with all those categories in your life, whether that be spiritual, financial, relationships, your actual physical health itself. And I'm going to preface this story with in the recap of what happened with the last few months. Now, after having a new baby, the last few months are always a little crazy. And that's how it was for us. And there's always a little bit more stress. You're not sleeping as well. Obviously babies have certain needs and from toddlers and older kids. And then yet the other toddlers feel that energy shift and change because you're not giving them the same time and attention that they had previously. And it's just a lot of energy and commotion. And so notoriously, those times are always, I would say, a little bit more challenging, if you will. But all those things I were feeling was not from just the last few months. This had been years and years and years of stuff just compiling and stacking on each other. And it kind of came to this point, this culmination where everything just kind of, I don't want to say erupted because there wasn't anything bad, but just spilled over is the best way to describe it. And we use this analogy of spilling over, and that's when symptoms are usually created, right? These symptoms and these things are happening within your body, but oftentimes they're going unnoticed or unregulated and or ignored. And then eventually what sometimes happens is you just reach this culmination point and everything comes completely saturated and then stuff spills over. And this is what was happening to me in my life, right? And I was overwhelmed, I was stressed, and we'll talk a little bit about, how those external environments or stressors are coming on, but then also it was just my relationship with those and how I was not handling stuff, right? And the key here I want everyone to take away with is everybody is at a different point in time in their life. And I was at this point in my life, and the history and experience of dealing with these types of things was not dealt with well in the past, nor did I learn, what I would argue, skills or those skills that I had learned had been overrun by a different program or default mode that served my body what my body thought was better, but not necessarily. And over the years, it just built up and this goes high school to college, to be honest. It's not just the last few years of having kids. And to the point where, you're shorter with friends and family and, me as a parent, just more stress around the kids and not having this leeway of action on being kids and being too rigid and all this stuff. And, my wife could feel it and I could feel it. And, nothing like a panic attack or anything like that, but it's just feeling like, fuck, I don't know what next to do, blah, blah, blah. And that's what's tough is, setting goals, and we've created these visions and stuff. And I know part of it is just the perseverance on that. But when you get into this place where you just feel stuck, it's very hard to mentally get out. And that's what I just did not have. I did not have what I thought was enough tricks, tools, or understandings or practice or formulas that could help me get out of that. And I was just stuck, and I kept spinning. And I'm sure a lot of you feel this way. And then what happens is, when you feel that way, you end up forcing it more. I got to do this. I got to do this. I should be this. I should be that. And I need to do this, and I need to do that. And one of my biggest shifts from this weekend is shifting a lot of that from shoulds to musts, and we'll go over that too. And I have to get tos, and I'm gonna introduce that, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. Excuse me. But that's what it was. And then with that, I just physically, like, I started feeling drained. Like I'm getting these crashes, and, there's another element to that, which we're also going to talk about. And, I'm not sleeping well. Certain aches and pains are hurting more than others. I'm not working out the same amount that I would like to, and that my body enjoys. And everything just felt forced. Everything felt frustrated. Everything felt stuck. And it just kept just like kind of boiling up. And, God bless my friend Ashley. She's been in this world for the last 10 years. She's currently getting her PhD in psychedelic therapeutics. She has helped so many people, and wives talk, dad talk. I'm talking with my buddy and her husband, and we're having a good time. And my wife is sharing, with her love for me, is just some of the stress and stuff's going on. And obviously, me and Brian are talking, because we were like, oh man, this, and you're thinking, and we're talking about investments and all this, and how can we set our family up for the future. And Ashley just reached out to me. She's like, hey, I know you got a lot going on. If you're curious about what my work can do for you, let's have a conversation. And I'm like, hey, I'm totally open. Like, I need something. And it's one of those things is, whether it's Chiro or PT, there's so many fantastic practitioners and healers out there that sometimes you just got to be open to that. I knew what she did. I just didn't feel like I was at that point, because I was, being resistant, and there was an ego to me figuring out, like, I want to be able to figure this out on my own. And that has been a big struggle of mine, is just asking for help in general, whether it's delegating tasks, even asking my wife simply to do something at the house, because I feel that maybe I feel more validated through helping more. Who knows? There's a number of different things, but I've always struggled to do that. And so for me, it was just, nope, this is my issues. I'm going to figure it out. Just like, I'm just going to keep, trudging along, and I'll have a breakthrough. I've honestly felt that perseverance was part of it. Is just, this is just a small bump in the road. It happens to everybody. I'm just going to figure it out. It'll be good. But then I started realizing, just like, why, like, if someone knows a better way and or can guide you down a better way to get you there faster, why wouldn't you even just have a conversation around that or explore that opportunity? Now, I know there's financial and time, there's a cost for that, right? So there's something to consider there. But sometimes that investment's what's needed and necessary. And this is that time I'm just like, I'm done. I'm stuck. I feel somewhat broken, frustrated. I don't feel at peace. And then that just spills out, right? That just spills out into so many different avenues. You're not enjoying life. You're not seeing things, because you just get into this program of reliving the past and being anxious about the future. And as they say, today is the present, and you're not enjoying that gift. And that's where I was day in and day out. And so that brings us to my first journey session with psilocybin. And we did a breakdown of, not necessarily the expectations, but some of the things that are just going on. And then she guides you to help ask certain questions, or what would this look like if you did X, Y, and Z? And a lot of this just came back down to just holding space. And I'm going to walk you through as much as I remember and recall. And we've gone through some sessions. We're going to go through a follow-up on this. This is only a week ago, of a little bit more detailed on certain things, of how I broke down and just kind of what happened. And this is the story. This is the journey. So if you are down to follow along with me on this, I know this has been kind of a 10-minute lead up, but I think some of that is the critical part, because if you're feeling that way, this could be an opportunity for you. There could be something in this for you. It's not for everybody. But what I have found is it really helps you unlock some things that you didn't even know. And that's kind of the whole point. Now, with this, some in immediate family, for others, it might be further away. In my general family, we've had alcoholism between multiple different levels, multiple generations, so on and so forth. And, so for my worry, and in the past, I always know that and this is true for everyone, we use experiences or substances or other things like that to essentially kind of numb feelings, right? So when you're stuck, or when you're stressed, or when you're feeling frustrated, whether it's alcohol, whether it's pop, whether it's a Netflix show, whether it's a relationship or connection, that's why so many people are oftentimes in what we quote unquote call toxic relationships, is you get something from that, but it's not what fulfills you and what actually needs you. And it kind of just numbs the situation, right? And what I was always worried about, and maybe this is my reservation with the psilocybin, is I did not want a substance to help alter to fix that, because I thought I needed to be 100% present in clear space to fix, I keep coming back to this word, and I'll explain it more here in a little bit too, whatever was going on. I am by nature, I like finding solutions, right? And if I don't, there's a lot of friction there. And I struggle being okay with the unknown that we don't always know. And so what happens is I get spun up. If there's not an answer, then I get super frustrated about that. And this was what was limiting me during the beginning part of this journey, is I wanted a fix. I kept looking for this fix. I needed something to fix the feeling that I was feeling. And that feeling ultimately came down to was this stuckness and this frustration that emulated and really boiled down to like a sadness. Not a depression, just a sadness of this kind of like, just like, I don't know. And so what happened is, as we started going, things just kind of unlayered. I started just thinking about all random things, thinking kids, thinking wife, just felt things just kind of unraveling and layered, which was cool. And it gave me exposure to certain things that I was not really paying attention to, which is part of what this medicine, and we're going to refer to it as medicine time and time here moving forward, because it is used in a medicinal setting, not me just recreationally having fun with it, but in a medicinal way to help me unlock this stuckness or this place that I was in. And so I did a total of 3 rounds of the medicine. It was a day-long journey with her. And then in the middle there, what I found was interesting was I was being taunted. And this is part of, there's a number of different podcasts and just informational pieces out there that talk about how psilocybin rewires the brain, and just how meditation and these other things can be so beneficial to help you kind of remove yourself from yourself for a short period of time, so that you can actually process and see what's going on. And it's this, what Andrew Huberman refers to in his podcast, and a lot of literature refers to as this ego dissolution, right? You're trying to lose yourself to regain and find yourself, if you will. And that's where I was getting stuck. I was forcing it. And in the middle of this, and partially influenced by the music, who knows what exactly maybe started it, but I was listening to some tribal music, headphones on, tribal ceremonial music with an eye mask on. And there was this song that came on that had this boing, boing, boing kind of stringy, boingy sound. And when I've listened to that song since then, it does not sound in any way dark, but it got dark. And in a sense where I wasn't seeing demons and things like that, but I was being taunted. There was this thing that was bouncing around that was taunting me with peace. And it was peace. And it kept bouncing. They kept saying, I'm peace. And it was basically, giving me the middle finger, just like, you can't catch me. Like, I'm not for you. You think you can find me. You think you can find peace. But that is not you. You don't have peace inside you. You need to come catch me. And it was me then getting anxious and frustrated because I couldn't find peace. And my thought was I needed to try harder to find peace. I was forcing it. And so my body starts moving around because I'm getting super frustrated. I have what I want right in front of me. I can see it. I can touch it almost. You can almost smell it. You know what I mean? Because it's right there in front of you. And how frustrating would it be to be inches within what you're searching for, only to come up short-handed. And so after a while of that, I open up and we're processing and we're talking through this stuff and trying to find altered solutions. And we hit this point in the session where, some stuff had come up, nothing overly traumatic that I know of or remember in my life, great childhood. And I kept trying to think my way through it. And what Ashley was trying to get me to realize is just like, it's a feel. And I'm pacing around the house and I'm just like, I'm so frustrated. I'm just so stuck. It's right there. I can feel it. I can touch it, but I'm stuck. I need to get there. And she's like, do you want to know what the answer is? I was like, please, I'm just so tired. Just tell me what the answer is. She's like, you can't think your way through this. You got to feel. And I'm like, well, how does one feel when you feel numb most of the time? Like in everything else, I was just going through the motions. There wasn't a lot of emotion. And I didn't feel like crying. I didn't feel like smiling. It was just like this stuck there. And she's like, well, sometimes in order to feel happy, you got to feel sad. And I'm like, well, I don't want more sadness. That's what I feel. Peace isn't sadness to me, right? And then she had introduced this ego dissolution in not that particular way, but finding, in order to have everything, you have to experience nothing. And that's what's always been so hard, is I think oftentimes when we're coming up, and that's why you see a lot of people that are extremely successful, and this is not the only, obviously, prediction of that, is those that have grown up in a different situation, a different, suffered some hardship. It appears like it's, which I have fortunately not been in a situation like that, but yet at the same time, maybe that would provide some benefit, is it forces a certain hardship, right? So you're just basically trying to show these polarities of, you don't want this because you grew up in this very harsh lifestyle. And so you become super successful, whatever that definition is to you, because that's what you don't want, right? So you're kind of drawn away from that. Where you also see just drawn to, just from a motivational, motivating standpoint, is just like, well, this is who I feel like I am, or what I'm capable, and I'm drawn towards that. But it was extremely frustrating to hear that in order to feel and find peace, that I had to be more sad when I didn't want to feel sad. I couldn't even cry. Like, if she was trying to get me to feel sadness or anything else, then it was just like, I can't. It's just not there. And so we kind of reached to this plateau or this stalemate, and we had it was kind of early afternoon, and she's like, well, we can stick with this. You can process everything that happened thus far, come up with some ideas and solutions to, think about this and work on the feelings, so on and so forth. But I was so frustrated at that time frame. And I kept thinking, and I kept pointing to the couch because that's where I was at the time. I'm like, I know the answer that I'm searching for is here. It's doing this work. It's going back in with the medicine to figure out what that next layer is. And that's where I kind of peeled it, thinking of it's just like these layers peeling back and being exposed into something else. And this is what's interesting, is I think I had a false idea that I was going to get something more out of it. And that's not the goal. The goal is to be exposed to other things, of which then you have to process, deal with, or create a new program or create a new pattern or habit to help you deal with that. And I'm going to talk about part 3 here in a moment of that third session I went into and the breakthrough that I had. And so ultimately we decided that I'm going to do another round, and I'm going to go back into the medicine and see what happens. But I said, if I go back in and I end up the same way, I'm going to be so pissed. I'm going to be so frustrated. If I go in 3 rounds, I end up in the same taunted, this thing bouncing around in front of me, holding peace in front of me that I can't reach. And I'm going to be super frustrated if that happens again. But I knew that's the direction I need to go. And I did not think I was going to go in feeling and just being like, just feel. But I knew I couldn't force it this time, because everything else I was forcing. I was pushing harder. I was running faster. I was reaching harder. I was using strength to try to get what I wanted. And I just kept coming up on empty-handed. And so for this next one, we put the eye mask on, put the music on. It was a lot of the same music, a lot of the same things, and those same tunes and the same music that came on that was previously taunting me came back in. And I just kept thinking to myself, this is real. I can't change this. This is real. Shit's going to happen. This is real. I can't change this. And I just developed this breath pattern. And I would take as big of a breath as I could, sometimes on through the nose only, sometimes it would be straight through the mouth, and it would just lift up all my ribs, and then I'd exhale. And when I would exhale, my jaw would chatter, and it would fairly violently chatter and shake. And it would do that on each exhale for as long as I physically could. And then I would just repeat that process. And when I was in it, I didn't know what time frame it was, but apparently I was doing that for a full hour. So for a full hour, I was just breathing and letting go of this frustration. And visually what I could see, and again, because I was on an eye mask, there wasn't a lot of visual input, but I was obviously through the psilocybin, I was creating this visual input that was kind of melding and going with where I was. And it was the same thing of this thing taunting me with peace. Only this time, when I did nothing, I got closer. The more I let go, the closer I got. And previously, I'm like, peace to me is not nothing. Like, I want peace to be in everything. I want peace to be in my family. I want peace to be in my business. I want peace to be in the trees. I want peace to be in anything and everything I experience. Like, why would I want nothing when I want everything? Why would peace be in this? Like, why would happiness be in nothing? It just didn't make sense to me. But that's what I found, was that the more you oftentimes force the thing that you're trying to get, you don't get it. And this is where I'm at the beginning of this journey, because for me, it unlocked a lot. It helped me see that there is this additional level of abundance, if you want to call it. I don't like using that buzzword because previously it didn't mean anything to me. But for me, it's this everything that I was able to experience what felt like almost everything in this opportunity where I was doing absolutely nothing. And so I just kept letting it go. I just kept breathing, and I got closer and closer. And I finally felt like I found that little bit of peace that I was looking for. And again, this is just the beginning. It brought a bunch of joy. It calmed me. It slowed me down. And that is what I brought out of it. Was I found this tool for me where I just tap my chest and I take these breaths, because what I was doing is I was getting myself so overworked up with stress and anxiety and things like that, and more recently I did blood work. Cortisol levels are up. My testosterone levels are low. My blood glucose is off. My A1C is up, because when you don't sleep well and you're stressed, you're going to resort to simple carbs, which are not good for, managing blood glucose levels. Certain biomarkers for heart health were up. And some of that is familial with, a family history of that. But I was essentially just making myself sicker with my stress and anxiety that I did not have good, I don't want to call coping mechanisms with, but good just stress management systems with. Again, because shit's going to be here. this is real. It's all going to come up, but I got to find a way to deal with it. And this is what my journey unrevealed to me. And this is the first one. But I came out of this tapping my chest, motivated, feeling better, feeling, more of this connection bringing back to is like, I don't have, that's what I was looking for, not need. I don't have to do anything. I get to. And I lost sight of that in the stress and the anxiousness and getting burnt out and doing all these things. Was everything felt like I have to. And that took a lot of joy out of it, right? And I saw this new level of, I get to do this. I get to be with my kids. I get to be in the office. I get to work out. I get to stress my body and see what my body's actually capable of. I get to not do anything sometimes and just be 100% present. And that was the struggle before, because it was always, what do I need to do next? I got to do this. I got to do this. And it was just constantly just this Rolodex of thoughts rolling through my head and no stillness. And I came out motivated. I came out with a realization of things that I want to change from that standpoint, from a realization of how I want to parent a little bit differently. And again, this is all but just in one. And it was a lot. It was overwhelming. It was great. But the thing that I came out of that, on top of anything else, was this level of curiosity about just the possibility of anything. Like, one thing that came up in that unleveling process too is just this untapped potential. Like, I know I have so much untapped potential, and I don't know if it's a worry of judgment or what it is per se, or maybe just not a clarity of exactly what I want to do, what I want to be, who I want to be, but also knowing that there's chapters in life. Like, nothing has to be defined and decided now. It can all be this continuum. And I'm going to leave you with a quote by John Eldridge, which is always, I rang true to me in a sense where it's kind of like this what I'm striving for. And he even says it in there for in life, all man strive for a battle to fight, an adventure to live, and a beauty to rescue, right? I've got the beauty, I've got the family, right? The battle I'm still unsure about. I feel like that's always been a little something that's been missing, where I don't know what that battle is that I need to help fight against, if you want to call it an evil, if you want to call it a resistance, whatever it is. I feel like that's what I'm still looking for, but understanding an adventure to live. I thought that had to be, again, this narrow, defined thing, when sometimes that's all this is. This whole thing of life is just one big adventure. And that's what I was losing before, was thinking it had to be defined, and that if I was to get it, I could hold it and I could capture it. And that's what peace felt to me. I'm like, I felt like I have very little peace. And whatever I have, I just want to hold it, because I feel like it's going to fleet. And I'm missing the opportunity of the peace in everything that I'm seeing. And so it seems weird to say this for me, because in the past, when I've heard podcasts, other people talk about this, it just didn't seem, it's just like, that's great. It just doesn't seem like it's something for me. It doesn't seem like it's something that's attainable for me. And that is ultimately why I did the journey. This is ultimately why I did the medicine, is I just was too stuck. My head was trying to figure it all out, and I couldn't do it, in my opinion, without this help. And it was, to me, and I've told so many people about it this week, one of the most profound experiences I've experienced in my life. I'm still processing as I talk through it. And that's why I wanted to put this down, to be honest, is just an easier way to talk through it and just kind of recall everything that happened. And one of the things they talk about, which is important, which we're going to go into here just to kind of wrap up, is this integration model. So the integration model is, you had this profound experience and you felt like you had a breakthrough in this. Now, when you're not under, the effects of the medicine, what do you do in real life? This is where the work comes. And I kept telling myself that, is like, as I was going into this, I was kind of hoping for, hey, I feel good. Like, this might have fixed me. And I'm like, this is just the beginning, right? I got so much work to do because of my pre-programmed thoughts. The moment a little bit of stress or frustration hits, what are you going to do? right? The moment it gets hard, what are you going to do? And I know a lot of people talk about this, and you see this today from, if you want to call it the alpha male, but even then, or just you see this with athletes and stuff, they're just like, you just get up and do it. You just get up and do it. Sometimes you're in a position where you need a little help. That's what it is. And I've struggled through the workouts that I don't want to do. I've gotten up and I've gone to work when I don't want to do it. I've done things that I don't want to do because I made a commitment to something. But to get to that next level, I needed some help. That's all it is. And those other people, and I was beating myself up. I'm like, well, if they can do it, surely I can do it. I don't know their life. I don't know their coaching. I don't know their experiences. There's so much about them that I don't know, and I don't know how they got to that point. If they did it on their own, that's fantastic. They were able to trudge through and find that thing for them. For me, it was a little too all over the place, and so that's why I'm encouraging everybody to, at least if you hear this and you've made it this far, is start researching it, start asking questions about how psychedelic therapeutics and other forms of those similar medicines can help you with your stress, your anxiety, maybe your depression, maybe helping you unlock new levels for personal growth, right? For some, it can be wonderful for substance abuse. The research on substance abuse is absolutely insane. But ultimately, finding that person that you can work with that goes beyond this too is because this is an ongoing integrated thing. It's not like you just do it once and you're fixed. And that's what I'm super amped and excited about, is just to figure out what this next level looks like for me. Like, I feel like if I've been able to do what I have been able to do the way I was feeling previously, and that's what's super motivating and exciting. You know what I mean? I was just like, dang, like I look around now being more like I can see in levels now, I can see more. And I'm like, we've done great. I've loved the life that we've built. It's still stressful at times. We got a lot of things. We got student loans, we got bills, we got all these things, right? But what we were able to accomplish thus far in the way that I have been feeling, if I start to work through this stuff, if I start to work on me and I start to unlevel and I start to shed some of this stuff off me, I'm like, we got some opportunity. We got some potential ahead for us, which is really cool. And that's the thing, is the crazy thing about this is, it's this realization where previously I was forcing this, right? I wanted this to happen and I was forcing it, thinking that my efforts are what's going to get me there. And that will be part of it. Because like I said, there's work to do. Work requires effort. There's nowhere around that. But the realization, or the thing that got me through that stuck block, whatever you want to call it, but also this breakthrough, whatever, if you want to call it that, or this realization, it didn't come anywhere else but from me, right? Ashley was there guiding me and helping me, asking oftentimes questions that had no answers, rhetorical questions, or just thought-provoking questions, to get me to think, feel, come to whatever that is. So the answer came from me because it's what I needed. You know what I mean? Whereas if someone else said, hey, you need to do this, it just wouldn't have resonated the same. It wouldn't have resonated. It wouldn't have stuck. And that's where I felt like I was. I was trying to inundate myself with some of these thought processes and these formulas and different things to do, which there still is opportunity for that. But I just never got to the point where it felt like it really unlocked that door that was stuck. And that was my journey. Now, it's not going to be the same for everybody. I wish everyone can experience what I did. And that's why I've been talking about it, because I think it has a ton of potential to help so many people in so many different ways that we don't realize. And that's what we're starting to see now, is through the research and a lot of the things in the news, and obviously some of the states changing this. To me, this is one of the coolest things that we've seen in a while. And what's so funny about it is this has been going on for thousands of years, right? Different cultures have been utilizing these medicines for so long and understanding their benefits of it. And we're just now getting to the game for it. But regardless, if you are in a similar place for me, if you're a mom, a dad, a parent, even to be honest, a young adult who's trying to navigate what happens after college and these types of things, I think it can be something that's pretty pretty helpful for you, and or for someone who's even older, right, who's dealing with generational trauma issues or stressors or different things like that, of something that happened in the past that feels like they're weighing them down. This could be a huge opportunity for you to help you get through some of these things. Now, I will preface, as always, right, these are guided sessions. This isn't, hey, you just go take some psilocybin on your own and work through your stuff. You do it with someone who knows what they're doing, who works with you on doses, which works on you about some of the things that you're experiencing, so that you've had conversations going in and set some expectations, not necessarily goals, but kind of, lay out some groundwork and some ground rules, or some just guidance barriers, if you want to call it that. And then you do the work during and after, right? So that was my experience with doing a psilocybin journey. I'm going to talk more about this in the interims of the leading up into, put together some more thoughts about just where I'm standing and sitting in between, and then doing recaps on those journeys as well. So if you're at all interested, and you want to follow around with this story, please join. I'll provide, as it comes up, more and more resources if there is anything to connect you with to learn more about it. Whether that be the Huberman podcast episode that I was just talking about, or some of those other resources as well. And we'll kind of go from there and see how this can help you unlock some things in your life. And I know it's going to unlock so much in my life, which brings me a lot of joy and a lot of happiness. So I'm cool. I'm super excited. I'm super eager, and it's going to be super cool to see where all this leads in the near future. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I know this was a longer one, but live loud. We'll see you later.